Alright, wanted to do a video on the accuracy I'm getting out of this new rifle I have here. It's a Browning X-Bolt Hell's Canyon Speed in a 7mm Remington Magnum. So there's a couple variations of this rifle out there. There's a long range, there's the speed. If you want to know the details, there's plenty of videos and information out there. I bought this as a hunting rifle, and I want to just show what I'm getting as far as accuracy out of it, and probably even more is going to be on my maybe load development process. I try and be very practical and just simple and straightforward about developing a load for a gun. IMR 4350 is the powder I was using. Is there better powder out there? Do you have a preference as a better one? Well, that's fine. I got a boatload of this stuff because it's worked in a lot of different guns that I've got. I've used it in 243, 257 Roberts, 280 Remington, 7mm, 264 Win Mag. So for me, like I said, this is just about being practical, and that powder's worked pretty good. Nosler AccuBonds. Why did I pick this bullet? A couple reasons. One, Dad always shot Noslers, so that's how I started out reloading. I just bought Nosler bullets. But two, one of the things I've tried to do to be practical in developing a load for these guns, or for any of my guns, is I will try to first start off by going to the Berger twist rate calculator. And the reason I do that is because there's a lot of bullets out there. You could get a high BC bullet. The AccuBond, I'd say, is in the middle of the range. You know, the partition's on the lower side of things, and you got, as far as Nosler, AccuBond's got a decent BC. If you want a high BC, you go to the AccuBond long range or an ELDX or whatever. Bergers have pretty good BCs, but I don't think that's the say-all end-all. Like I said, this is the Hell's Canyon Speed, and so it comes with a 9 1/4 twist. The Hell's Canyon long range has a little thicker barrel than this one, and I want to say that they come with a 7mm. They come with like 1 1/8 twist, something like that. The higher the BC of the bullet, the faster the twist rate you need. So for me, going to the highest BC bullet with any of my guns isn't practical. None of them are a long range specific gun. They're hunting rifles. And so, you know, I go with a middle of the range BC. So if for me, I go to a Berger twist rate calculator, I put all the dimensions in for the bullet, weight, length, and BC, and put in your twist rate, put in your altitude, and put in the velocity you're planning to get, and it'll show you whether that bullet's going to stabilize in that gun. For me, using that first before I go shopping for a bullet, or using that to confirm that a bullet's going to work in a gun, has worked out awesome. If I go get like the top BC bullet I can find, and I don't have a fast enough twist rate, that thing shows it. And if you don't check that first, you're probably going to go out in the field with some loads and find they don't shoot good out of your gun, and you're better off with a flat base, soft point, core locked bullet versus an ELDX. You know, so anyway, so that's what I found. And I already had these AccuBonds. I have a 280 Remington, which is a 7mm .6 basically. And so I wanted to try these AccuBonds out of this. I looked on the twist rate calculator. Boom, perfect. Perfect for this twist rate. Really stable bullet. Powder, I had plenty of powder in that variation, so why not try it? And I start out with, you know, I don't like to max out the velocity. I don't like to go to max pressure and velocity. I think it's same thing with the BC. I don't try and go to the nth degree with everything. I want to be practical. And so, you know, got my loading manual out. And for this bullet with the IMR 4350, you can see the max was a 60 grain. And then between the 60, I don't know if this is showing up real well. Between the 60 grains and the 58, you know, 2 grain difference. That's terrible. That's not a good picture at all. Your velocity does not change that much. There we go. It was there for a minute. Anyways, you go from 3,000 feet per second at 60 grains, and you drop 2 full grains and you only drop about 60 feet per second. theoretically. That's out of the barrel that they used with the primers and brass and everything they used. Sorry that that's not a better picture. But what I will do typically is take that velocity range, and like on this I started out with a 58 grain, bump up to a 58.3, a 58.6, a 59, 59.3, 59.6, 60. I know those aren't equal increments, but I'm just trying to be simple, and it works really well. Started with a safe overall cartridge length that's around the max overall cartridge length that's recommended, just a little bit under it, and it chambers in the gun fine, fits the magazine great. So what I got was, this was my first test. I loaded up 5 or 6 different powder charges. I started with the 58. There was the 58, big old group. 58.3, 2-inch group. 58.6, boom, all of a sudden I'm in something that's reasonable. 59, just over an inch. So I stopped there, you know. You can see that starting out with, well, that's 58.3, so this must have been the 58. Actually, you know what? The 58 wasn't even on paper. The 58s weren't even on paper. I had to start by sighting it in. It was supposed to be bore sight and it wasn't. So that was the 58.3s, 58.6, 59, 59.3. They start to open back up. So I stopped there. Go back to 58.6, and then I loaded up. Whether you can see on here or not, these are my little notes. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So I found the 58.6s worked the best, and then I went to all this right here that was different jumps. This is 10 thousandths, 26 thousandths, 33 thousandths, 41 thousandths, 56 thousandths. Why such weird increments? Well, that's just where they ended up. I was trying to go 15 to 20 thousandths each and see if I'd start getting into a range that would work. And here's what I came out with. Where is it? So that 3/4 inch group, this was the jump that was on them last night. This was all my fault. It would have landed with these just like you saw. That's the same powder charge as this first group that was getting in the acceptable range. This was my fault. I just jerked that one. So I'm sure it would have landed similar to those ones. That was the same jump as I had last night. Then I start closing in the jump. This was the first shot of the day, so that was just kind of a fouling shot with a cold barrel. And I had 4 of these loaded on purpose so I could have a fouler shot. And then look at that, boom. That's when I tightened the jump up from, what was it, just 55 thousandths, 56 thousandths. This one went down to 41, and all of a sudden I have this 1/2 inch group. Then I tightened it up a little bit more to 33 thousandths, and all of a sudden, look at this, it's opening up. So boom, I'm done. For me, there it is. I shot a total of 25 rounds to get there. First, I was testing powder charges. Stopped when I found one I liked. I didn't see it was worth going past that. This is a hunting rifle. And then started testing the jump, and look at that. All of a sudden, within 25 loads that I've fired through this gun, I'm shooting a 1/2 inch group. And like I said, this works all the time for me. It's a practical approach. First thing I do, bullet twist rate calculator. Next thing I do, what's in a reasonable powder that shows in the reloading manual that I already have on my shelf. If I don't have a bullet that fits that twist rate calculator, go get one. Or if I've got an intended use for that gun, go find that bullet that'll match the twist rate that I'm going to need. But here's another great example of how well this has worked for me in the past to get to a really quick outcome on a nice load. Look at this mess. This is, as you can see, this was a 264 Win Mag that I bought just before this gun. That was a 3-shot group. That was a 3-shot group. It was a brand new rifle. Somewhere up here was supposed to be a group. So that was a bullet that was just all over the place. It matched the twist rate calculator. So I changed powders, okay? You're seeing that I had like, what, 3 and 4 inch groups somewhere. So I changed powders and did the same steps. Over here I had a group that was off the paper, so that was a big one. Over here we're closing in, that's probably 1.5 inches. And then all of a sudden, 55.6 grains. I got like a 1/2 inch group there, just under a 1/2 inch. 55.3 grains, holy moly, getting even tighter. And then I dropped down to 55 grains, and sure enough, that is a 3-shot group. You got 1, 2, 3, and 1/4 inch. So on this gun, I think I shot 30 rounds to land on that, and then I never even played with my cartridge length. I just left it where it was, because for me, in a hunting rifle, with a standard barrel factory trigger, that is pretty hard to beat. So that's not the X-bolt, you know, I'm talking more about the reloading load development here. That was a Winchester Model 70 Sporter and a 264 Win Mag. It's a Browning made. It's a Winchester that's been made since Browning purchased them. But here's that 7mm X-bolt Hell's Canyon after 25 rounds. Forget that one, the cold bore shot. That's a pretty sweet hunting gun. So, there it is. How do these X-bolts shoot? Well, for me and my standard little procedure I go through for reloading, trying to get on a good load within 40 to 50 rounds, this thing's doing awesome. 25 rounds in, and I already know what I want, and I got the rest of them loaded up. There was one nasty piece of brass in that. Oh, and another thing I did, I trimmed all these to the same length to start with. I dropped my sizing die in because these come in the bag. These are Winchester brass. They come in the bag just all, you know, all over each other. And so the necks were all kinked and flat spots. So the first thing I did is put my full length die in, just sized the necks. I didn't run the die or the brass all the way up in the die, just to where it hit that neck and rounded that neck out. Then I took my trimmer, just a little hand turn trimmer, and trimmed them to length, and went from there. Primed them and started putting together loads. So super happy with this gun. It is ready for hunting. Hopefully it'll have a chance to kill one of these puppies. That was a 280 Remington. That's a 280 Remington. And by the way, that is a mule deer doe. She's a 2x3 and she's 27 inches wide. Was hard horned, rubbed her velvet, weird freaking doe. Couldn't believe it when I went to field dress that sucker. There was female anatomy. This one was killed with the Savage 7mm, and I'm getting back to the 7mm. Looking forward to using it. And then you know what? Since I'm showing off my bucks, why don't I show this guy off? This one's my favorite. This one was killed with the same Savage 7mm about 10 years ago. Cool buck. It's got a nice kicker up there. Nice 4x4. All kinds of trash down here on the bases. Just a freaking sweet deer. And yeah, lots of 7mm diameter bullets flying around through these puppies. So that's that. This is the 264, that Winchester Model 70. If I can get it to stand there. And it is a sweet shooter. You can't see it worth beans. But that gun right there, shooting a 1/4 inch group, man, with a Berger Classic. I didn't go with the VLDs out of the same principle of trying to keep it reasonable as far as developing my load. The VLDs did not show on the calculator as being something that would stabilize out of this twist rate. So I found that they had the classic 135s, a little bit lower BC, but boy did they shoot well. And there's the 280 Remington Model 700. So anyway, fun stuff. If you're looking at one of these X-bolts, are they accurate? Well, within 25 rounds I've got this one shooting a 1/2 inch, so I'm pretty happy with that. That's all.